All right, AEW Dynamite 250 is off the air. I am Andrew Bedell. That's Blake Mitchmore. We are live for our AEW Dynamite post show. Thank you all for joining us. Blake, AEW is off the air. We're going to talk about the main event. Blake's going to open with that. But 250 started off with basically an hour match between Will Ospreay and MJF, which we will get to 59 minutes and about, 58 seconds. So that was a good match to start off the 250th episode of Dynamite. No real surprises tonight. Everyone was hoping for a debut, possibly. Darby Allin came back. We're going to get to all of that. But before we do all of that, how the hell are you, man?
Pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm all right. It's a Wednesday night. I enjoyed that episode of Dynamite. There was maybe one or two things that we could discuss that I'm sure me and you are going to agree on that maybe didn't need to be on the show. But again, for the 250th episode of AEW Dynamite, I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad show tonight. I mean, there's a couple things that I could have done without, but one thing that could have been about half as long as it was. But other than that, it was still really good. We'll get to it. It was still really good, just way too fucking long.
Nicholas says, fellas, 250 was a bonkers. Great show. Yeah, it was a great show. Corey says, evening, gents. Go ahead, Billy.
All right, so let's talk main event. We had Swerve Okada. I thought it was a really good match up front. Kind of a, WCW Nitro style finish. But I think he did a great job of setting up Blood and Guts next week and making it something that, in my opinion, has been lacking the last few weeks. Making it kind of feel like a big deal and something you actually want to watch, because for a couple of weeks, it was kind of feeling like, what the fuck are we doing?
Right. Well, when they announced Swerve and Okada for this AEW Dynamite 250, I thought to myself, okay, no titles are on line. Makes sense to promote and market Blood and Guts, which is coming next week in Nashville. You have no other choice really but to do that, and smart to end the show tonight with that match leading into one of their biggest non-pay-per-view televised events, which is Blood and Guts. Again, I knew Hanger would get involved. Darby was a little bit of a surprise. Jack Perry, all that other stuff. I'm glad this is how this main event went down, because Okada and Swerve should actually have a match where it's a one-on-one match and they actually get to have a finish. And maybe it's for a championship, maybe it's not. But I look forward to that in the future. The thing that I will say about this main event, just like I will say about Raw's main event, it was predictable. Very predictable how it was going to finish. But that doesn't take away from this entire episode. Just like I didn't think Braun Breaker interfering in the Intercontinental Championship match took away from Monday Night Raw. Some things just need to happen. Now, Darby's back. It's interesting. Came down from the rafters like Sting. I liked it.
Like that.
I liked everything that they did here to sell Blood and Guts. But again, very predictable.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it was very predictable. But I think in the situation, you had already had one big match on the show that had a finish of, it had a finish, might lead to something else. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. I don't think, Okada's been positioned in a way that it was not the right decision for, even though Swerve's world champ, for Okada to put Swerve over tonight. And obviously Swerve can't lose either. So some kind of no finish was the right decision, and leading up to something you did to build to Blood and Guts and make, like I said, make it feel a lot more exciting than it has in the previous couple of weeks. I thought it was good tonight.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. We're going to move on to the segment with Mariah May. Mariah May came out dressed full Toni Storm, not the Toni Storm we saw when she first debuted in AEW. This is timeless Toni Storm, and everybody and their mother, including me, when she first popped out, thought, okay, Toni is, after the brutal, savage beatdown she took last Wednesday, is going to get a promo here, I guess, or is coming to the ring to address the situation. And very quickly, I thought, okay, that's not Toni, that's Mariah May. And I love the way she was dressed. Mariah May hit the ring. She cut a promo that I thought she needed to cut. She was articulate. She was deliberate, even though the fans were trying to take over the promo. And again, I felt as if Mariah delivered the promo exactly the way she should have. She's not pandering to the crowd. She's a heel. She's also explaining why she did it and what she's coming for, which is the AEW World Women's Championship. I thought the promo came off well for somebody who really hasn't done much speaking in the past, 2 months, realistically, besides backstage segments. Mariah, in my opinion here, I know a lot of people I saw on social media disagreed with me. I thought it was a good delivery. I thought it was a good promo, and I thought she looked the part. Blake?
I thought this was the best thing on the show tonight. Hands down.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I thought she was fantastic. I thought, and her delivery when she actually did the promo was great. I thought when the crowd started to try to take over it and she stopped and just let it breathe for a little bit, showed a lot of kind of veteran savvy that you don't see a lot from people in AEW.
Yeah, because she could,
like Mariah.
She could have got rattled to your point and just not, and just didn't, went over the crowd. She kind of let the crowd simmer down, all right, guys, shut the fuck up, and then continued. So I agree with you there.
I thought that was really good. I thought that showed another level that we haven't seen from her in AEW yet, and something you really don't see in AEW a lot. You see it in WWE with guys like Roman and Cody and guys that cut a lot of promos. That's something you get with years of experience. That's not something you typically see people like Mariah that are on the beginning of being on the national stage have the ability to do.
Yeah, I would agree. Were you in the camp of that Mariah, should have done a lesser promo? I thought, in terms of time, I thought everything she did here was great.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was my favorite thing on the show tonight. I thought she hit it out of the park.
I would agree. The next segment on AEW Dynamite, why don't you go ahead with that? That was Mercedes and Nyla Rose.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to really try to break this down because I really, outside of the ending of it, I really didn't give a shit because Mercedes and Nyla Rose doesn't do anything for me. But I mean, the match was what it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't anything terrible, but I think they did a great, again, just like, I thought the ending of the main event was really good. I thought the ending of this was really good in the way it played out. They're making you want to see Britt versus Mercedes really, between the backstage segment before her match and the ending, they're building Britt and Mercedes really nicely and making it, I would say at this point, because you haven't really seen any build, making it something you want to see more than Danielson and Swerve because they hadn't started to build it yet. I mean, it literally, it's the thing you want to see it all in right now.
Yeah, I would agree. I enjoyed what Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker did. Obviously, Nyla Rose, I would say few and far in between thought that Nyla was walking out of here with the TBS Championship, and I would say it was more few. Again, I thought the match was what it was. Mercedes and Nyla had that match first time they ever locked up in AEW, and Nyla has been here since day one. The match made sense to give that person that type of shine, that type of match in a celebration episode, which is somebody who's been loyal to AEW and has been here since day one, and that's Nyla Rose. So the newcomer who has, got all the pomp and circumstance being Mercedes Moné and Nyla Rose, the matchup made a lot of sense. The match was what it was, but I really did like what Britt and Mercedes built towards, which is all in. And I'm a huge fan of anybody who wears Ruka, and obviously Britt was wearing that, but Britt has so much charisma. And her and Mercedes at All In is a massive major match for the women's division, and they have two of them now. And the men have two major matches as well, but there's a third coming, in my opinion, which we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the show with the Blood and Guts match, but I believe you're going to get Perry and Darby in Wembley Stadium.
They definitely built that.
Yeah. So AEW's doing a really good job of building things, and I liked what they did with Moné and Britt. And obviously, Nyla, you want to call her a casualty, go for it. But I think this was a nice tip of the cap to Nyla to be in this match on a celebration episode for somebody who was there since day one.
Yeah, 100% that's what it was. It was giving her a match on the 250th because she was on the first episode. Yeah. And, there are a handful of people, but let's be real. The roster from 1 to 250 is vastly different. I'm not going to put a percentage on it. There's a lot of people that were there at number 1 that aren't there anymore at 250. So, I mean, Nyla's loyalty was rewarded, and you hit the nail right on the head, dude. I mean, Britt, there are few people, and I don't say this as a criticism. I think it's the truth. Right. There are a few people that when you turn on AEW television, ooze stardom because of their charisma. A lot of them just come off as really good wrestlers. Britt oozes charisma. Britt comes off as a star.
Yeah, and she is.
And she comes on screen.
Yeah, that match is going to be something at All In. I think the Rocket is obviously attached to Mercedes Moné in terms of championships and victories and everything else like that. So it'll be interesting to see if they could suspend people's disbelief and have people actually start to believe that Britt could take the TBS championship off of Mercedes. That's the key. We did see a championship change hands here tonight at AEW Dynamite 250. We did see Chris Jericho in the Learning Tree. What did you get from that segment in Jericho and the Learning Tree before we get into the match that kicked off the show but was really the highlight?
Nothing really, to be honest. I mean, Chris and Suzuki will be fun, but like there's no build to it. There's no nothing to it. So like it's not something that I'm like, when they announce it, I'm like, oh, I really want to watch that next week. I mean, it'll be fun because it's two guys that have been in the business for forever and know how to sell a good match, and it'll be, crazy because it's Suzuki. But I don't know. I respect what Chris is doing with this Learning Tree thing, but like I need to see more of what we saw last week. And the darker side to it, if you really want me to like buy into it and really care about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Is that match going to take place at All In?
No, I think they announced it for Blood and Guts next week.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing. Like, do we get to Blood and Guts, or excuse me, do we get through Blood and Guts and do we have a multi-man match at All In, or do they go back to Joe, or do they have Suzuki and Jericho in a rematch? It's interesting because realistically, we know where Joe is. He's off, which has now been confirmed, filming Twisted Metal. So I think there is some comeuppance from Joe from what happened a couple weeks ago or last week on AEW Dynamite. So again, very interesting to see what takes place. But let's talk about this main event. I'll let you lead off here. Will Ospreay defending his AEW International Championship against MJF. MJF gets the victory. Why don't you talk about what you like, what you didn't like, and then me and you could argue for a little bit because I feel like that's coming.
Yeah, look, I thought the match was great. I mean, it's realistically, it's the two best guys they have on the roster. The two, MJF's definitely a star. Will's on his way to being a star for them. They're both fantastic in the ring. They're both fantastic in every aspect of being a pro wrestler. I'm just going to be honest. An hour-long wrestling match is too fucking long for me. I just don't. I mean, 30 minutes, they had me. They had me completely at 30 minutes. Like, I was invested. The second half an hour, and I think what it is for me, honestly, is if you can put two guys in a ring and they wrestle for an hour and I don't know it's an hour, perfectly fine with it. Like pay-per-view, if it's 45 minutes to an hour and it's a great match and I don't realize, I'm like, oh shit, this has been going on for a long time.
So would you have rather them, hold on, I want to touch on this. Would you have rather them said this is going to be an hour?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
TV, where you know how long it's going by the fact that it had 4 fucking commercial breaks during one match.
Right. And they got to 45 minutes and you were like, they're definitely going 60 at this point.
Yeah. Or an Iron Man match where there's a timer on the clock during the entire match. If you're going to give me an hour match, I wanted to just get immersed in the match and watch it and go, oh shit, these guys have been wrestling a long fucking time. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't need to know constantly because I'm like, come on, dude. Like 45 minutes, an hour. But I mean, listen, I thought the match itself, outside of the time and the fact that I felt like it was way too long, I thought the match itself was fantastic. It was great. There's nothing I can say critical about the match. There's nothing I can say critical about either guy. Just for me, as a wrestling fan, it was way, way too long.
So, We'll touch on that. Corey says it made sense for MJF to win. With that result, it's better they did it here than in England. And it also perfectly sets up Garcia to come back and feud with MJF for the title. So let's talk about that real quick. I'll go back to what you said, but I want to touch on what Corey said here. Corey believes that this is setting up for MJF and Danny Garcia. Now, I don't see that.
I hope not.
I'm not saying they couldn't, because they've left the door open for, in my opinion, 3 to 4 different possibilities of who MJF or that international championship is going to have partake in its match at Wembley Stadium at All In. MJF and Will can have a rematch in an Iron Man match, because realistically they left that door open. Will got pinned. They were both kind of knocked out with, I would say, 2 seconds left realistically at the 60-minute mark. Okay, the referee hit the 3 at 0-2. Fine. I don't hate that match. I would actually be here for it. If they kept All In to 7 matches and one of them was an hour, and that's the Iron Man match,
that's not happening. All In's going to be 47 matches.
Probably not, but we'll have to wait and see. I think they left that open. Do I believe that they left the door open for MJF and Danny Garcia to have a feud over that championship? Sure. I just hope it's after All In, because I'll be honest with you. I love the potential in Danny Garcia, but I've said this to you privately, and I'm going to say it on the air here right now. MJF and Danny Garcia is not a match at All In my opinion. That's their WrestleMania. That's their biggest event of the year. For me, Danny Garcia's comeuppance should happen. He is a fantastic wrestler, a good human being, but Danny Garcia needs to go through some other wrestlers, almost like he's got to run the gauntlet, get some wins, and then you get to Max. Max should be one of the final bosses, quote unquote, that Danny Garcia has to overcome to really arrive in All Elite Wrestling. And I'm not quite sure we do that at All In just to have the match, because him and Garcia had some one-on-ones and some FaceTime. I know they've set it up, but Max walked away from Danny. Max is now a full-blown heel, which we saw last week and this week. I don't want to see Danny Garcia and MJF at All In. If we do, I'll let it play out, because that's just the type of fan I am. That's the type of analyst I am. That's the type of opinionist I am. But I'm telling you right now, I don't believe that's a match for your biggest show of the year. Blake?
I 100% agree. I mean, we talked earlier today, and I made the analogy, and I'll make it here. It would be the equivalent in WWE of Cody Rhodes fighting Grayson Waller at WrestleMania 41. WWE's not doing that match. You're getting Cody versus Cena. You're getting Cody versus Randy. You're getting Cody versus The Rock, something like that. You're not getting Cody versus a mid-carder. And that's no disrespect to Daniel Garcia. Like you said, he's really good. He's just not there yet.
And he's going to get there.
It doesn't mean time will tell. It doesn't mean he can't get there. He's just not there yet. You need to, it's the same. If you watch again, I'll make a WWE reference. If you watch the WrestleMania behind the scenes documentary, Cody or Triple H said the vision with Cody was give him a hot year, getting back to Roman at the end of the year. That's what AEW needs to do. They need to give Daniel Garcia a hot year.
Okay.
And build him up to a level of a guy like MJF. He's not there yet.
I agree wholeheartedly. And Corey says he wishes he was on live because maybe his words were misconstrued, which was fine, misunderstood as well. I don't think Garcia and MJF is happening at All In. It will be after for sure. And I agree with you, Corey. Okay, great. But it was good that we misunderstood you, because it brings up a topical point that everybody is talking about. Oh, we're automatically headed to MJF and Danny Garcia. I don't see it. I do see it down the road. You know what I'd like to see it? 6 months from now. Max should, maybe even 12. Max should be one of the final people that Danny Garcia that has to climb to get to the upper echelon of All Elite Wrestling. MJF just beat Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is AEW's golden boy. And Max barely got out of that match. So I think they're going to go back to that. And I would love to see MJF, Ospreay, Wembley Stadium 2 in an Iron Man match. Whatever the hell they want to call it, go for it. I would love to see it. Yeah. If they go MJF and Pac, okay, that's going to be a great match too. And if they go Will and the supposed coming in of Ricochet, okay, that's going to be a good match too. But realistically, they've left the door open for 4 possibilities, and the least one I'm interested in, if I'm just calling a spade and being honest, is MJF and Danny Garcia. And that's not a knock on Danny. He's just not there yet.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm fine if like you want to do something where Danny makes his return and helps Will win the belt back at All In, something like that. But I just don't at this stage. I just don't have interest in it. Not it, I mean, I agree with you. In reality, it needs to be done 6 months a year. Do it 2 weeks later, all out if you want, but not at your WrestleMania. That is like you said. All In is their WrestleMania. That is not a WrestleMania match. I'm sorry. It's just not.
It's not. It's definitely not. Jake says, what up, Drew and Blake? What up, Jake? Steven says DG and MJF and All Out. I think that's even too soon, but I guess you never know.
Would agree, but I'd be okay. I'd be more okay with that than All
Out. If MJF wins. Corey says, I think Full Gear might be the earliest for Garcia and MJF, possibly World End. See, I'm here for that too, Corey. I'm here for that.
Fine, sure.
Give Garcia some build and some time, and I think he becomes somebody that AEW, quote unquote, can rely on and is a bigger star than he was here in July. I mean, he needs some big victories over some.
Like I said earlier today, don't tell me he's the backbone. Show me he's the backbone.
Amen. Yeah, I don't want to hear the pillars anymore. Just show me they're the pillars.
I don't need you to tell me that shit. Show it to me.
Invader Ace says, wait, didn't Pac win the #1 contender last week for MJF's title now? Yes, supposedly he did. Now, what that means, they could have that match in Nashville. They need a bigger undercard than just blood and guts for Nashville if they want to sell a couple thousand more tickets. Pac and MJF would work and get some eyeballs on the product, and maybe Will watches or interferes because he wants MJF at Wembley Stadium. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But there's a lot of possibilities, which is why I liked the finish. I liked the hour. They kept both men strong. There was a couple things in this match that I was surprised at. The lack of selling at times was baffling to me. I was like, and listen, I get it. But when somebody hits their moves and somebody hits a devastating move where I'm watching on my television, I'm like, holy shit. And then that person's right back up. I'm like, wait a second. What's happening?
Especially 45 minutes into a match.
Yeah. That's the big thing for me.
The Hurricane Rana spot, like 45 minutes. It was awesome. Don't get me wrong, where they traded Hurricane Ranas and both of them landed on their feet. But realistically, if you're trying to suspend disbelief and make me believe in what's going on, two fucking guys that have been wrestling for 45 minutes ain't doing that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I've never put together a match. Have I trained? Sure. Have I wrestled? Yes. I've never had to put together a match like that. I'm not telling you that I'm critiquing their work rate or anything else like that.
Well, the match was fantastic.
It was. I just thought that when you were beating the absolute shit out of each other, like Blake said, for 45 minutes, and then somebody hits a devastating move where I'm at home consuming and I'm saying, whoa, and then it's right back into action. You don't give me a second or even a couple minutes, maybe a minute, to be like, wow, that move's devastating. Now you hit that move and it just falls on flat eyes and deaf ears, in my opinion. But
and the other thing I'll say is, and this is just not a criticism of either guy, this is wrestling in general. I do not need 712 false finishes in a match.
No, I agree with you. But it is what it is.
It's wrestling. Like I said, not these two guys. It's wrestling as a whole right now. That's the gimmick in both companies.
This was the embodiment of AEW when they threw both these men out there to start the show. 30 minutes uninterrupted, commercial free. I knew it was going to go past 30 minutes. Didn't know it was going to go an hour. I love the way this transpired. The match was fantastic, but this is AEW in its complete and utter nutshell. Truthfully,
sure.
It is a wrestling fans promotion, and these two wrestled their testicles off tonight, truthfully, and gave everybody a match that they should want to see, and they did. They really did. So go out of your way to watch it if you didn't see it tonight. It was a match. I think it might have been one of the best matches ever on AEW Dynamite.
I mean, I would agree. Like I said, it was fantastic. I
know you don't like our matches. Yeah. You didn't like the Iron Man match with Brett and Sean, which is crazy, and I don't believe
you liked it. It's just too long.
Yeah, I knew there was something else you didn't like that was an Iron Man match. Was it? Not an Iron Man match. Yeah, was it? Weren't you at one? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, I was at Hangman and Danielson at Dynamite.
Yeah.
That was an hour-long draw.
You're not a 60-minute man. I get it.
No, I'm definitely not. I'm more like a 3-minute man.
All right, let's talk about where we think they go
Maybe
from
90
here.
seconds.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave that one alone. Um, let's talk about where we think they go from here. Obviously, Blood and Guts is on the horizon. It's next week. It's a big show in Nashville. Right after that show, myself and you will be at Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor in Arlington, Texas, and then we're going to be at Collision the next night. So if you're in the Dallas metro area, if you're in Texas, and you want to come hang out with myself and Blake, we'll be at both those shows. I'm sure we'll be doing something afterwards that involves a watering hole. So just, let us know where you guys
your drinks are on Drew.
Absolutely not. But yes, we will both be on site for Death Before Dishonor and Collision. But where do you think they go from here? Obviously, we got the Blood and Guts build. If you had to, pick All In right now, obviously we got 2 matches absolutely announced. It seems like we're headed towards 4. What do you think those matches are going to be? Who will be there? Oh, Corey are you going to be in Nashville, Corey, or Texas? Because if you're in Texas and you didn't tell us, I'm going to be pissed. Go ahead.
What do I think All In would be right now?
Coming off this Dynamite.
The way it's trending, I would say potentially Bucks and Acclaim, which I don't really care about.
Yeah. In some sort of match, though. That's got to be a gimmick match. They can't just have another regular match.
Yeah. I do think, Darby and Jack will happen. That's probably, those are probably the matches the show's built around. You'll have, it sucks to say, but I'm sure they'll throw Moxley in some kind of random match just to get him on the show.
For sure. John's been very absent.
They'll have a lot of those. So, they'll put the BBC in a few matches. And a couple multi-man match. I hope I don't think it will be the case. I hope what you said is accurate, that they, instead of putting 417 matches on the card and it being 6 hours long, that they just give you like 8 matches with a really good stories behind it, but that's just not usually what AEW does.
Yeah, I think you're definitely getting Perry and Darby for the TNT title. Based off tonight, I think you're definitely getting the Acclaimed and the Bucks for the tag titles. I want to see who Okada is facing. That's the interesting
thing. Oh, yeah, that's a good
one.
Okada's definitely going to have a match. And
could it be against Hanger?
Maybe maybe the end result of like Blood and Guts is Hangman says, "Hey, I did this for you. Now I want this MF in a title match at All In." I'm really starting to think after tonight that Hangman may cost Swerve the world title at All In.
Oh, okay. And then they could fight it all out, and then we can get to maybe a possible rematch, et cetera, et cetera.
Something like that, because they're going to Swerve and Hangman too much for it. They're not something not to happen.
What was missing tonight, because he is the number 1 contender for the AEW World Championship, is Bryan Danielson.
Was not on the show.
But I understand probably why he's not, because he's not partaking in Blood and Guts. So it's kind of, they don't need it. And there's also a lot of time before now and All In.
Yeah, you got 6 weeks. So as long as you hammer it after Blood and Guts, you're fine. But, it wouldn't hurt to get – AEW's been doing a really good job the last few weeks with video packages. It wouldn't hurt to get, a video package of Danielson talking about his win or, heading while he's not on the show the next couple of weeks. You could
how this is his last All In. He could talk about that, that type of stuff.
Give me something like that. You can have Danielson's presence on the show helping build to All In and making you want to see that without him being directly involved with Swerve for the next couple of weeks.
I agree. All right, we're going to spend the last 10 to 15 minutes on your questions, your comments, your concerns. I don't ask for super chats. We're doing this because we love professional wrestling and we enjoy covering it as opinionists. We're not journalists. We're just opinionists. First of all, the whole media landscape is absolutely cooked. So people are on national television giving their opinions and their quote unquote thoughts. That's not how a journalist should be. You should be reporting news and factual information, but we will leave that to those professionals. And I use that term very, very lightly. But let's go to some questions, some comments, and concerns. Blake, before we do that, though, AEW, in my opinion, I'm going to let those questions come in. They have about 4 to 5 matches right now that I think are on All In. Only 2 have been announced. I will name them. I think we're going to get Perry and Darby for the TNT title. We're going to have Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. That's an announced match. We have Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson. That's an announced match. That's 3. I'm going to go with the Acclaimed and the Young Bucks in some sort of gimmick match. That's 4. The other matches that I think we will see, there's a 5th and a 6th possibility. I do think we get MJF. And I'll say this. I think we get MJF and Will Ospreay in a rematch and an Iron Man match. I think that's 5. Those are 5, with the exception of the Bucks, just right now.
Mercedes you had mentioned too.
That's 6. I mean, those are 6 major matches right now. So All In's looking good. They'll add some others as well, but All In's looking very, very good. Let's go to some questions real quick. We had one here.
Hater ready for All In. I don't think anybody knows, Steven.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Steven.
I think I want to say Sean Ross Sapp said something last week like she's being talked about again because she went through medicals, but that's like the only thing I've even heard. Like there's no real dirt, if you will, about her return.
It'll be interesting to see what, I know we're talking about Jamie Hayter, but somebody who is not who has not been on AEW television more recently, Sammy Guevara. I think he should be back any day now. So interesting. Very interesting. I want to thank the over 500 people who are in here, over 400 on X, and over 30 on YouTube and other platforms. So thank you very much for that. 316 MMA says SummerSlam is way good with the storyline. I would agree. Listen, WWE is firing on all cylinders right now. They have a stack show coming up in Cleveland. I will be there. Who is in the video packages on Collision with the mask? I don't believe that's Ricochet. Everyone's like, oh, this is Ricochet. I think this is a repackaging of somebody who's already on the AEW roster.
Yeah, I don't really care, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hey, it's just not. I've seen those. It's just not doing it for me to make me. So far, it has not made me intrigued on who it could be. Yeah.
I have a question here about Bad Blood. Drew, will you be at Bad Blood in Atlanta? Yes, I will be. How did the presale go? The presale for WWE was ridiculous. They continue to be white hot. So they give the match. They give away match because the TV rights. I don't. You have to explain yourself on that.
I think they're talking there. I saw that. I think he's saying that. Did they give away tonight's MJF and Ospreay match?
Oh,
because yes and no, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't. No, I don't think they did it because of that. I did, like we've talked about last week. Even WWE does this. It was a landmark show, being 250, so you make it big and you put a big match on there. Do I think that putting that match on there and promoting it while you're negotiating your TV rights is a bad idea? Absolutely not.
Sure. I don't think it's a bad idea, to your point. Again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't care if Paul Levesque or Tony Khan ever hire me. I don't do this stuff because of that. I genuinely think Tony's a good dude. I think that from the small interactions I've had with him, I think Tony is a good human being and really cares about not only the industry, but professional wrestling. So I'll say this. I think Tony cares about milestones. He's very nostalgic. And I also believe he loves tradition. So I think he was going to stack this show regardless. Now, there's some other things going on in the world right now that Tony and AEW had to compete with. Okay. So do I think this show is going to draw 900,000 to 1 million? No, I do not. Do I think that they are looking at this as a potential bargaining chip for their media rights? I'll be honest with you. I think the media rights are all pretty much done. So I don't think this show is like a bargaining chip at all. No. Steven says, when do you expect the TV rights announcement for AEW? Steven, I think the media rights are coming soon. Realistically, the exclusivity window ends in about like 13 days. But I think Tony and Warner Brothers Discovery have had some good talks. I believe the deal is pretty much done. I think they're just probably hammering out maybe the final dollars and cents and length and all that other stuff. But I think they're at a good point right now in the negotiations. I would say sooner rather than later. Maybe they make the announcement in Nashville.
I think it comes sooner rather than later. If you look at when TV upfronts are, they're usually in that, summertime type of year before the fall schedule comes out. So I think it's possible to, I think it comes. I mean, we're almost August. I think it comes a lot. I think it comes sooner, even if it's not next week in Nashville. I think it probably comes by September 1st.
Yeah, for sure. September 1st is past the exclusivity window, which would lead to a whole different slew of people online and all that other stuff. But every time WWE's media rights have come up for renewal in the past 20 years, 25 years, they have exited those exclusivity windows and seen the other options that were available or presented to them. So I don't think it's a big deal if they are not announcing a deal within the exclusivity window, but I think they will. Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, who's your hookup, holler if you hear him. Do you think AW gets MCM, the Motor City Machine Guns? I thought for a while they would, but I'm going to be honest with you at this point. I could easily see them in WWE.
It seems like there's been a couple of teases for him in WWE, so it seems like they might be, especially with what they're doing in NXT now with, stacking the show with people that aren't always there and, bringing in veteran talent. I would say that I would lean WWE right now too.
I have a question here on X. Drew, Blake, would you please touch on the Stephanie Vacour stuff that was circulating on the internet about AEW not picking her up at the airport? Sure, I'll touch on this. Normally I wouldn't. I don't think this is a factor in Stephanie Vacour's decision. I don't think she didn't get picked up from the airport and then she was like, well, not signing here. Don't want to do business with there. Here's another tidbit for all you, who want to hang your hat on this. The Talent Hotel was the LaGuardia Marriott, which is legitimately right across the street from the LaGuardia Airport. You could throw a rock at it. So I'm not saying that talent weren't picked up and driven,
to the arena, maybe
400 feet from the airport to the hotel. But at the end of the day, it's absolutely absurd. You can walk to the hotel and it's a 2-minute walk from where everybody was staying. So I think this is a lot to do about nothing. And I think this is just the internet stirring up shit. Truthfully, I don't believe that Stephanie Vacour not being picked up at the airport when the hotel was literally a stone's throw away is that big of a goddamn deal or was a factor.
I definitely don't think it was a factor in her decision. The only thing I'll say about it is if it did happen again, regardless of the hotel situation, something AEW needs to fix.
I mean, yeah, if your hotel is connected to the airport, then no.
Regardless of the hotel situation, if talent are expecting cars and they're not doing it, or there's a miscommunication, it's something AEW needs to fix. That's all I'll say about it. For the long-term health of their company, it's something they need to fix.
Listen, I'm a big boy. If they don't send me
if it's true, and I have no idea if it is, so if it's true, it's happened more than once, and that's just not the way you take care of talent.
Yeah, I get it. I'm a big boy if they don't send a car. If I was expecting one, it's different. But if they don't send a car, then or I wasn't expecting one.
But I'm saying, the first person was expecting one.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And rightfully so.
Like I said, I have no idea if this is true or not. If it is, she was expecting one and it didn't come. It's something they need to fix. That's all. Other than that, who cares? I mean, it had nothing to do with why she went to WWE.
I agree. I think she went to WWE because of so many different variables and reasons which we will not get into. What we will get into is a prediction for next week's AEW Dynamite and Blood and Guts. Team AEW or Team Elite, Blake, and then we're getting the hell out of here. We're in and out in less than 45 minutes to an hour. That's just how we handle our post.
No 4-hour shows here.
Absolutely not.
I don't like to look at Drew's face for 4 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Beautiful face, handsome.
The Elite needs to win. I mean, they If they don't, then I don't need to ever hear about the Elite taking over the company or anything like that ever again. Like, they need to just be a generic stable.
Yeah, I think the Elite need a victory too. I think you could have after Hanger and Okada kind of be at odds if that's where they're going to go for All In. I'm all for that. Maybe Hangman Page does not side with the Elite, et cetera, et cetera. But the Elite, who are supposed to be taking over this company, have done everything but that in the past month, besides a big victory at Double or Nothing. Jack Perry winning the TNT Championship, great, but the Elite need to get back to trying to take over the company if that's the role.
Or Team AEW needs to win and you need to kill the storyline. One of the two have to happen.
If that happens, I don't want to see the Elite on my TV for a while.
I agree. That's what. But I would tend to say the Elite needs to win. If they don't, you need to kill the storyline, and that's it.
Yeah. Again, a good Dynamite 250 is off the air. So. I expect a media rights deal soon. How many people will be at All In? I'm going to go over 55,000 easily. So
yeah, they're at 45 right now, and they haven't even they barely started to announce matches. So yeah, probably somewhere between 50 and 60.
All right, Blake, we are out of here before the 10 o'clock hour here Central Time. We're out before 11 on the East. I hope you guys enjoy the quickness of our post-show lives because we want to be in and out in under an hour. That's just how we like to handle things. We don't need to listen to people talk for 3 hours. That's just not who we are. It's not who we'll ever be. We did post-shows or post-shows.
Don't talk for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean, maybe pay-per-views or PLEs, you might get us talking longer because there's a lot to dissect and digest. But on shows like this, you can be in and out in an hour. Blake, where can everyone like, subscribe, and follow you?
Right, just like it says on the screen there. Right there.
That's right. At Blake Mitchmore. I am at Andrew Bidala right there on social media. Come argue with me. Come tell me I'm an idiot. Come have fun. Whatever you want to do. I don't care. Come do it. I will respond to you 9 times out of 10. Unless you're an absolute moron. Then I'll tell you
to go stack marbles on the freeway.
There you go. You took the words right out of my mouth. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow here on YouTube to Final Bell Media. So when we go live, hit that notifications. You will never miss an episode of our Dynamite reviews or our FBM lives, which take place on Fridays. Blake, how about a bold prediction before we head out of here?
For what?
In wrestling. Give me something that's going to be bold in the next month.
In the next month? Bryan Danielson turns heel and joins the Elite.
That's a bold prediction. I'm going to stay with the Danielson train here, but I think a bold prediction would be Danielson winning the AEW World Championship at All In.
As a heel in the Elite.
No. All right. That's Blake Mitchmore. I'm Andrew Bidala. You guys and girls enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night, and we will see you on Friday. Blake, see you.